This is Thank You Mama, weekly lessons from mothers all around the world. One of my most precious possessions is a painting by a fisherman from our island in Croatia, who in the 60s and 70s started painting local tales of magic. This painting shows an old woman dressed in our island traditional clothes. She's walking on the water, carrying a huge boulder on her head while spinning wool. She's accompanied by a goat and an octopus, and there is a huge storm raging behind her. Her face is wrinkled like the stormy sea surface she's walking on, and she's equally frightening, empowering, and wise. I just love her. She is my protectress, my wild woman. And for this reference, please read, which you should read anyway, Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Piccola Estes. The story was that when people ran out of rock for building houses on the island, the old woman told them not to worry, she'll just go and fetch some from the neighboring island. And then she set off walking on water and brought back enough rock to build all the missing houses on the island. Women on my island, just like women in Africa, and women, I believe, from everywhere around the world in the past and present, used to, we still carry heavy loads on their heads. This is why she is so important to me. She's such a symbol. I still remember old women dressed in black, carrying huge baskets of laundry or olives, walking around the island. It's an important symbolism. But man, do we all carry a lot of stuff on our heads. So, when I saw a video on Instagram, someone made of women in Paris carrying things, and they said it was inspired by Maira Kalman's book, Women Holding Things, it hit very close to home. I looked up Maira's book and immediately knew I had to invite Maira to my podcast. And I didn't even know about the book and the exhibition she created based on her mom's incredible and deeply inspiring story. Maira and I had a wonderful conversation about her mom Sara's life lessons and life story. Me in Vienna and she in the middle of one of the biggest snowstorms in New York. And now I can't wait to meet her when I go back to New York. I do believe that you will find this conversation, Maira and Sara, as inspiring as I did. Hello and welcome to Thank You Mama. My name is Anna Teider. My guest today is Maira Kalman. And I am so excited, Maira, about your second name. Because I'm married to a Kalman. So I'm officially, in my documents, I am Anna Teider Kalman.
Okay, we're related.
We're probably related somehow. Maira is an American artist, illustrator, writer, and designer known for her painting and writing about the human condition. She's the author and illustrator of over 30 books for adults and children. And her work is exhibited in museums around the world. Maira, is there something else we want to say about introducing you?
No, that's a good start.
That's a good start.
Okay. Jump from there.
Yeah. Well, let's jump from there. So, I learned about Maira on Instagram. Somebody made a video of women holding things and said they were inspired by your book called Women Holding Things. And I thought, This is so amazing. I have to look it up. And I looked it up and I read about your work and saw what you do. And I really dreamt of having you on the podcast. We've been communicating for quite a while now. And finally, we made it happen. I'm very excited you're here. But also, as things go, when I told you about women holding things, you said, but have you read Sara Berman's Closet? And I said, I didn't. Why is that important? And Maira said, because this is a book about my mother. So now I have read it, and I'm very excited that not only have you written a book about women holding things, but about your amazing mother. Welcome. Maira, how did you become an artist?
That's the question that everybody asks themselves. How did I become anything? And I wanted to be a writer. And when I was about 8 or so, and I read Pippi Longstocking, I decided that that's what I was going to do. I was going to write stories. And I had the need to, from some unknown place in the heavens, I had the need to tell my story, and I wanted to write. Later, as I got older, I decided that I would add painting to the mix of it and start doing illustration and then children's books, which could combine writing and painting. So the trajectory was a road that went kind of a winding road, but I always knew that I needed to do this kind of thing.
Did you get some kind of education for it, or are you self-taught?
Well, the writing, I went to school and I was an English major, but the painting, I'm self-taught.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I'm asking this because I think it's very important for people to remember you don't necessarily need education to be amazing at something and to be successful at something.
Like you said, that you need a burning desire and patience and a willingness to keep working very hard for a long time, no matter what.
But also what I've learned through my books and writing and publishing books, which I never learned to do, but I just did, I still think if it comes from the heart, it's great.
It must come from the heart.
Yes.
Then a few other things have to happen to help it along, but you have to start with what you love to do. That's always, yeah.
And you were born and raised in New York City?
No, I was born in Tel Aviv.
And you were born in Tel Aviv.
Yeah,
okay.
Israeli. And we came to New York when I was very little.
Okay.
And went back and forth. And I have, very close and big family in Israel. Mm-hmm. So that was very much part of my upbringing and part of the story of my mother, which is that her relationship to her family, who came from Belarus to Palestine in the 30s and then to New York in the 50s. And then she went back with my father, and that's, the continuation of a story. So that duality of being both American and Israeli, not belonging either place, but belonging in both places, I think it was a great gift to me.
I absolutely feel you, Maira, because I have left Croatia when I was 17 and moved to Vienna, Austria, where my father lived at that stage, and lived in Austria for 20 years. And somehow Vienna became my chosen home. Mm-hmm. But in my bones and heart, I'm still a Croatian. I love this duality that you're talking about. I never saw this as a burden. And then I moved to the States and spent 12 years in the States with my husband. And I just decided that it's so amazing to not belong to only one place. And something that some people feel like a burden to say, I don't know where I belong and who I'm this and that. I personally think it's absolutely fantastic. And I'm so grateful that I have a child who is such a mix of everything and has lived in so many different places, because I want him to embrace this feeling of I can belong to different places in the same time. Exactly. I see it as a gift.
It is a gift. It's an asset and a gift, and opens the world up in many wonderful ways.
And it teaches you to accept different people. It teaches you that, because every place it's such a different mentality, you learn to accept that and accept that things are different, places are different, and people are different, and that's okay. I think that's really, really important. You started talking about Sara. Let's dive into her story a little deeper, because it's fascinating, and it's the topic of our podcast. So Sara, as you mentioned, was born in Belarus, and then she moved to Tel Aviv with the family, and then the whole family moved to New York from Tel Aviv.
No, my mother and her sister and her two brothers, there were four children, moved to Palestine, to Tel Aviv.
Palestine. I'm mixed. Sorry.
Yeah, no, but they
Yeah,
moved to
I mixed
Palestine
everything up.
but it's Tel Aviv. They moved. They
Yeah.
became Israel, and
Yeah.
she was young. She was 12 years old. So when she met my father and got married, and he became a diamond dealer, they moved to New York. And that's why we moved to New York. So she left her family was in Israel, and she moved to New York with my father and her two daughters, my older sister and me.
An important part of the story that we learn in your book is that marriage from the beginning on was not really the happiest.
Not a happy marriage. And it's probably not that unusual that from that era and from those countries where the father was the patriarch and had to be obeyed in many ways. The woman was subservient and taking care of the home and didn't have her own income, her own life, her own voice. It wasn't unusual, but it was still unhappy. And I think that my parents, even though they seemed to live a very beautiful, affluent life with many, many people, my father was a very social man and very brave in many ways. But the relationship within them, it was really quite sad. And we really didn't understand what his sadness was about. And we think he left his family in Belarus and they were all killed. So his sense of having survived and having lost the people he loved the most, I think it broke something in him that could not be repaired. But, not to be too much of a psychologist, at any rate, they had, from the outside, would look like a very good marriage, and from the inside, not.
How did they get married? How did they find each other? Was there love in the beginning, or was it kind of an arranged thing, or how do you know anything about that?
He met her somewhere. My mother was very, very beautiful. And Tel Aviv was small at the time. She was the beauty of the city. And the stories are that every man was madly in love with her. And so when my father met her, he fell madly in love with her too, and pursued her with great fervor. So I think she said yes, thinking that he would be a good provider and a good father and a good, I don't know what, and you don't know what's going to happen in a marriage. It could be wonderful. It could be terrible. You really don't know. And so that was what happened. I think that, in the book, I say that she really had great misgivings on the day of her wedding and confided in her sister. But it was one of those, it's too late and you can't go back and you can't not do it. And you just have to accept this is what's going to happen. And and wonderful things happened in their marriage too. I mean, besides they had two daughters and traveled the world. We lived in New York because of my father, which was an extraordinary gift. So, now I can look back and see the good things that he did, but it was difficult for me to see that during her lifetime.
What do you think she missed? What was not work? What did she miss in that relationship?
Love.
Okay. On her side or on his side, or both?
Both.
Okay. But now let's get to the important point, where Sara packs her one suitcase and goes.
Yeah.
And we love her so much for that.
Right. And she didn't do it alone. My husband and I were on our honeymoon in Israel, and we saw that she was completely falling apart. And it was years of watching this disintegration.
Okay.
So we packed her bags and we took her to the airport and we took her back to New York. And when my father came home from work, she was gone. And I don't look at that with any pride or any kind of sense of accomplishment. I think that we felt we had to do it, but I think it was a terrible thing it was terrible and wonderful too. To do.
I understand. It comes across differently in the book. I thought she just did this, but thank you for clarifying that.
Artistic license, editing. We couldn't tell the whole thing, but basically that's what she did.
Yeah.
One suitcase and gone.
Yeah. But thank you for saying this. I just came off of an interview with a lady who is a professor and researches being a daughter. So it's interesting that you as a daughter helped her and supported her in this moment, which might have been life-saving for her.
Yes.
So that's for me a very important part, which is not in the book, and I absolutely understand that. How did he deal with that? Did he ever recover from?
No, he never recovered. No. I want to say that it may have been, and again, I can't get into it in the book. That was the very, very beginning of what became his dementia. And whether it was Alzheimer's or something else, we don't know. And so that was a very long and complicated story.
Okay.
With his demise and seeing him into a nursing home and, finding out who could take care of him. And this is long distance. My sister and I both live in New York, and he's in Tel Aviv. So but for my mother, it was life-saving, and she kissed the ground of, the New York every day and adored my husband. And then I got pregnant and we had our first daughter, and she was very, very much a part of the family. So what the amazing part is, when she left everything she had, that's when her life began. She didn't need all of that stuff. She didn't need a fancy apartment, and she had the people who loved her and knew how to take care of her, and she knew what was important. So that was the revelation in the book, that it seems that you lose everything, but in fact you've gained your whole life back.
Yeah. And Maira, this touches me deeply and personally, because I actually started marketing and management and had a very long career in a corporate life when I accidentally discovered that actually I'm a writer. And I burned out in my job, interestingly, after I discovered that I've written a book accidentally. And having the courage to leave this job and this life, the very well-paid job, and a life where, I had security and travel and was able to afford many, many things, and very consciously choosing to minimize. And I have to honestly tell you, it's the best decision I've ever made in my life. I had to cut on everything. I remember going out with my friends for dinners, and I would just have a cheap drink while they were eating dinners. But it was the best time of my life. And we learned that we don't need all of that. We just don't need our freedom and being true to ourselves and finding who we really are and what we should be living. That's worth so much more than anything money can buy. So that moment when I was reading about it, I was celebrating for her. And I always want to support everybody to do this.
Right. It's, it can be terrifying. I mean, when you see somebody else do it, and then you go, "Oh my God, this is possible. This is how you build a life." And so it's inspiring. It's very inspiring. And that's what we hear about Sara Berman's Closet from people, that it's inspiring. Not everybody has to do exactly the same thing, but that sense of finding out what your truth is and who you are and living that.
But let's go a little bit and introduce the closet. So Sara moves to New York with one suitcase and moves into a tiny little studio in the village where you are as well. And she's 60 something.
She's 60.
She's 60, and
Which we thought was ancient, but she was only 60.
She
but
was only 60.
Yeah.
But she starts a new life now in this little studio. And this is where the closet happens. Tell me now about the closet.
Yes. I think that also the legacy of the women in my family, which is such a strong legacy, is, taking care of the home, taking care of the children, taking care of the food, taking care of and the linens, and the sense of what is in your home is everything has to be beautiful and meaningful. So there was a lot of linens and ironing and washing and embroidery, and everything was taken care of. So her closet was this vision. I don't know if you'll be able to show people the images when you assemble the talk, but the closet, and of course, she only wore white. So it was a beautiful closet. So it was a beautiful closet.
Sorry to interrupt you, Maira. Sorry, This is your story, but very important. Okay. She decides to wear white once she's in New York. It's not like she's been wearing, this is part of this new persona of being herself. Right. And maybe white is her fresh canvas where she can develop into who she truly is, which is fascinating. I love that.
So I just want to say that it's not such a great leap, because in the Middle East, everybody's wearing white all the time. It's very hot, and it's not as if it was so strange, but it became codified. And I think that for her, the simplicity, the editing of life, as you're saying, like the choice of, this is my blank canvas. This is my new fresh start. This is who I am. And so she only wore white, and also, all the linens were white, and the closet was meticulous in its order. I mean, you just don't see things like that. And it was a walk-in closet, by the way. So everybody, not in New York knows what that means, that it's a closet you can walk into with shelves.
Yeah.
And so when she died, and she lived for another 24 years after leaving my father. When she died, we were in her apartment, and I was standing in her closet, and I said, "But this is a work of art, and it has to be a museum." And I said to my sister, "Why don't you sit here?" I don't know. I said I was too busy, but why don't you sit here, and people will come and we'll charge 50 cents, and they can see Sarah Berman's closet. And my sister said, "I don't think so. I think I'm going to do other things." So she declined, but we kept everything. All her underpants and all her bras and all her clothing and every single thing, knowing that something would happen someday. And that's also another a gift from being an artist, is that you have an idea, and it may not happen that day. It may happen 5 or 10 or 20 years later. But the likelihood is, if it's important enough, you'll make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 years later, my son, Alex Kalman, who has a museum in an elevator shaft on Cortlandt Alley in New York, which is near Chinatown. And it's this little defunct elevator shaft. It's a very strange and wonderful location. Has a museum called Museum, 2 M's in the front and 2 M's in the back. And we were talking about the closet, and he said, "Why don't we install that in the alleyway? And in the annex, a little niche in the alley, this dirty, ugly, crummy New York alley."
It's all gray. Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
Yeah, no.
I'm too excited about it. But it's all very gray and full of graffiti. And as you say, it's dark and dirty. And then there is this vista, this white thing opens up, and Sara comes out of her closet. It's incredible.
It is. So it's a recreation of her closet in a vitrine on this dirty alley. We're covered with plexiglass with one little bulb. So it's lit, illuminated 24/7. And anybody walking by the alley just goes, stops. And that's the beauty of New York, those surprises of incredible installations that you don't really have that so much. I mean, maybe now, but back in the, you didn't have that. So at any rate, it was installed, and a curator from the Met came to see it. And Alex said to her, "Might you know other places this could travel?" And she said, "I think I might have a place." And so you then said, "By the way, it's the Metropolitan Museum of Art."
Yeah.
So that was how, from a little thing, from a true life to a true installation, to a moment saying, "Oh, this is a museum," that trajectory brought us to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, where we recreated her closet, and it was there for 9 months. And I'll just add that it was it was in the American wing, and it was next door to the closet of the richest woman in America in 1872, Arabella Huntington. And it was a very opulent closet, could have done very well in Vienna. And, she had that because of her money. And then next door in the next room was this humble little closet of a woman who didn't have money, but had freedom, and how this expresses the identity of a woman. So that's the story.
But also important, Maira, I think we didn't mention this strongly enough, how happy and fulfilled Sara became once she moved to New York and started wearing white and became her own person and finally found herself and her voice and discovered herself and started living her true life. That's what makes this closet so important. That again, I'm coming back to this canvas, to this blank canvas where she finally, at the age of 60, was able to paint herself. When did you write the book?
So we wrote the book about the same time that the closet moved it went from the alleyway to the Met.
Okay. And now, before we go into lessons, I just want to share with you some things that connect our mothers. We come from a little island in Croatia, originally, my mom's family. So we spend all the time we can, mostly summers there. And because it's hot, so the climate, it's hot and dry, Mom loved wearing white. And I learned that from her. Many women on the island do wear white, but my mama on the island is my mama in white. And I have albums and albums of us on the island wearing white all the time. We also
I'd love to see it. Send me a photo. I'd love to see that.
I will do. But also the island for centuries was the center of coral diving for Adriatic. And so women, part of our culture is to wear coral jewelry. So if we had some special occasions, you wear white and then you wear all this red jewelry. I have to send this to you so you'll see it. But then my mom, who was always a working mom, a fantastic mom and multi-talented and very successful both in her acting career and her arts. When we lived together, she had a lot to do. She was not a mom who would iron, cook breakfasts and lunches and dinners and so on. It's funny, when I was smaller, I was a little jealous of friends who have moms who prepare sandwiches for school. But later I learned that I'm so grateful to have the amazing mom I have. Anyway, but somehow once I moved out and she started living alone, Mama started ironing, having and making beautiful bed sheets. She had an apartment filled with antiques. She filled her apartment with these beautiful antiques. And then she would make these white linens with a lot of lace. And she would wash and iron everything in her closet. She had this, it so reminded me of your mom's closet. My mama was wearing colors, but this white, perfectly ironed and stacked bed sheets. She passed away 10 years ago exactly. I still have them in their original ironed form. I never dared to unfold them. I carry them to Vienna and everywhere.
You're carrying a treasure with you. You can't touch it. Yeah.
And the third thing that connects our moms is very interesting. My mom had a little studio in Zagreb in Croatia, which was given to her by the city to use. She didn't own it. It was just loaned to her to use as an artist. And when she passed away, a young artist moved into her space. It was just a tiny little studio. Nina Kurtela was so inspired by being in my mom's space that now for many, many years, all of her work involves around my mom's work and her space. Mm-hmm. And one of the last projects she did was she recreated my mom's studio, but just like as a metal installation, just the frames, inside of the Museum of Contemporary Art in Zagreb. So people could walk into it and walk through this space that wasn't a space because it was just a metal construction of my mom's studio. So there's so many beautiful connections.
Really, that's a parallel. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very pretty. Let's quickly talk about the most important things you feel you've learned from Sara.
Okay.
I see you look around. I have a feeling we have to hurry up.
No, I'm looking at the snow, the storm.
Oh my God, it's snowing
Snowing.
again. I saw it.
Oh, it's a huge storm. And sometimes the wind comes and throws the snow against the window, and I'm just like, so that's what I'm
Yet
looking at.
another storm. This winter has been incredible, huh?
Yeah, a bigger one than before. At any
Yeah.
rate, but it's fantastic to be indoors and talking to you while this wonderful storm is swirling outside. So
So, what do you feel were the most important things you've learned from her?
I have to start with the most important thing, which I think is the most difficult, which is not to tell your children what to do. And that's a very hard lesson because your instinct is you want to protect them, you want to help them, you want to guide them. But her feeling was you have to make your own mistakes. You have to live your life as you see it, and to have faith in your children that they will make at some point decisions that are good for them, and even decisions that are bad for them, that they will figure out their life. And you're always there to be there for them and to love them and to help them if they need it, but not to tell them what to do. And she started that from a very young age. So there was no obligation to be a certain kind of person.
Were you aware of that? When did you become aware that this is what Sara did? And did you then consciously take it into your mothering?
I probably became aware, maybe as a joke when we were in our late teens, early 20s. My mother never tells me what to do. Not so much as a compliment, but kind of as an observation. But then I understood what it meant, and I very much took it into my relationship with my children. I'm not as good, not as successful at it as she is. But I think also this generation that we have with our children, or I have with my children, there's a lot more dialogue and a lot more conversation and a lot closer in terms of sensibility, we think, than my mother's generation and with my sister and me. We're an older generation than you, and there wasn't that kind of closeness and discussion of things. So that's the first thing, is to let another human being make their decisions, find out who they are, and live their life, knowing that you're nearby with love. I think the second thing is a sense of order and beauty in the home, and that sense of that what you have around you, it's not necessarily that you are a fanatic or obsessive. It's just that there are things around you that you enjoy looking at, and that you are aware of the aesthetics that are around you. And I think that the thing that comes after that, or maybe before that, is a sense of purpose of the day. That everything that you do in the day is the architecture of what you've chosen to do. And of course, we all have obligations to do things that we didn't expect to do or didn't really want to do, but that in its essence, what you're doing in the day has meaning. So if you're going to the post office, which I like to do a lot because I write letters to my granddaughters, probably like
Where are they?
They're in Vermont.
Okay.
So my daughter has 3 daughters, and
Okay.
I've been writing, the oldest is 10, and I've been writing them a letter, an illustrated letter every week since the first one was born. So for 10 years, I've been sending one letter every week, illustrated. And I think I'm giving them the history, their history, my history, and maybe a future book, I say.
That's incredible. What a present.
And so I go to the post office with my letter and mail it. And that action, that kind of ritual, I find very grounding. Grounding. Exactly.
Hello, Freud.
It's grounding. And I think that though to put rituals in your life of meaning, is something that I also learned from her and from her sister too. I mean, the women, and from my grandmother, that the women really did do that and did things with purpose. And with humor, with a great,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next thing is to have a great sense of humor and to understand that that's an essential part of life. You can't survive without humor.
I was watching your interview at the Met together with Alex, where you showed the map, and I love the map.
Yeah.
And you talk about humor there, and I'm just
Yeah.
looking as we speak. I look at my notes that I took when I was watching this, and as themes I wrote down liberation, second chance in your 60s, your own voice, a
Hmm.
room of her own, treating
Right.
existence with care. This is exactly what you just talked about. Having the courage to move on, making order in chaos, which is what
Right.
the closet is about, and ironing. You said somewhere in that interview, and I want to put it out there, your vision is the only vision that's important.
Hmm. I agree with that.
But
Everything I said.
because
I
you
mean,
said you've learned that from her, and I thought this was so important. We have to teach our children this.
yeah, which is different than being a narcissist or an egoist. You know that the
Yeah.
maybe it's opposite because
No,
they
it's
can. It can include a great deal of love and care, but it's the only thing you have is really your own vision. I mean, what else? What else if you want to express yourself? I mean, that not everybody has to be an artist.
but I'm reading on my, and this connects so nicely to having the vision of your own, and you saying, but not necessarily being a narcissist, not not caring about the affirmation on the outside. You said you learned from her that the right affirmation comes from the inside, and that connects nicely to that trusting your own vision and understanding the importance of your own vision, trusting yourself. That's a totally different thing than being a narcissist.
Right. And it's inconsistent. You know, I also want to allow for the fact that you don't wake up every day and go, yay, me, I'm so fantastic. Some days you
Yeah,
go, oh, but I'm an idiot and I can't
yeah,
do this.
totally.
And to allow for that, the variation in mood and the variation in self-confidence. So hopefully you have people around you who care about your work and care about you and who give you some kind of encouragement to do what you're doing and to make you feel that it's something that's worthwhile. But if it doesn't start from you, then there's nothing.
And I have another one that I'd like to talk about. You said in that interview as well, you don't have to know how to do it in the right way, you just have to do it.
Right.
And I just pull this out because it's so important. It's fighting, for some people, that's fighting perfectionism, which is a way to avoid starting something because it's never good enough.
Right.
But it's also collecting the courage to just do it.
Right. Do it your way. I mean, that's the thing from my mother's map. If any of your listeners can find the, Berman's map of the United States, is that the idea, what is knowledge really? And what is it that you accumulate as knowledge? And it's not just to show that you have a lot of academic degrees. And of course, that would be not what would be in her vocabulary, but to create something from your point of view and not to be afraid of having it be different from the right answer. And we also say that what Einstein said, which is very easy to say, if you don't know something, imagination is more important than knowledge. And so we use that quote. It's easy to use it when you're not Einstein. Well, of course, it's more important. He had a little bit of knowledge too, but so that sense of what is a person and what makes a person happy to be alive. And I think that's what you find out. You're happy to
Yeah.
be alive when you're not afraid of your own ideas and are willing to put them out in the world.
Oh, we shared some amazing lessons, I think. Do you have more, or should we talk about what you wish she had taught you?
Uh-huh. Oh my God. I don't, it's interesting that I was thinking about that and I thought, I don't think there's anything I wish she had taught me because that would be completely opposite of what would be her thing. But she also was very, very careful. So, I mean, it's a list of things she did, which is she said it was very important for a woman to be independent and have her own living. And she learned that from being a dependent woman on a man with income who
Yep.
you had no voice at all. So those things, that was another thing she taught that was extremely important. And it wasn't so that she kind of, was aggressive about talking about it, but it would come up, and it was something that she said in a gentle way, not in a tough
Mm-hmm.
way. So what do I think she would have taught me? It's really interesting. My brain is empty when I think of that.
Huh? That's fantastic.
I'll call you later if I think of something you should have taught me. Well,
Um,
everything we know that we don't know anything. I mean, I learned that you learn pretty quickly in the world. Can we leave that blank for now?
that's absolutely. It's it's unique. I've done 190 interviews. I've never had it blank, and women. To give you a little bit of inspiration,
Yeah, give me some ideas.
Most of the women until now said sexuality in my body, women's body. I wish my mom told me about that, so I didn't. As one of my guests said, so I didn't have to go through trial and error to learn it.
Well, that would be the last thing we talk about in that. So, okay.
Okay, so that women wish moms talked about that. Finances, just talking about money and finances, talking about self-care, and the fact that we women sometimes need to take care of ourselves as well, and not only of the others.
She did tell me to hold in my stomach. Is that self-care? I want to say that and it's interesting, all of these categories, in the conversation of what do you say directly to another human being as opposed to allowing it to be in the air, it's under the giant headline of this you'll find out for yourself.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but I like these examples. They're good. But I want to say another reason why she wouldn't tell me what to do that. And I think that's part of the fabric of something much more elusive that we can't really talk about, is that she allowed me to be in a dream world. And I think that in my work, for my own imagination and creativity and being a daydreamer, I think whether she did it on purpose or, inadvertently, allowed me to stay a dreamer and a child. And that's a very, very big part of my work.
Yeah. Yep.
Who knows? Who knows what the intent was? But it feels like it was that.
Yeah. My mom kept giving me white rabbits as presents. I think for the same reason. I think she wanted me to continuously go down the hole and discover
this magic world. And it's amazing. So
yeah. Well, Maira, thank you so much. This was as inspiring as your books. Let me quickly recap, because I have a feeling we talked about so many important things. I kept writing down as we spoke most important lessons we can learn from Mama Sara. Don't tell your children what to do. Let them figure it out by themselves. Be a loving presence that's there to support them when they need, but let them figure it out by themselves. A sense of order and beauty in everyday life and existence. A sense of purpose of the day. I wrote down rituals, finding meaning in these little things. You say you go to the post office and that has a meaning. I have to bring my mom into this again. You should see her. She had a beautiful supermarket across the street from her apartment. So she would go there every day. It was nothing new to her, but every day she walked in, she was like a child. She found magic in this supermarket that was just across. And every day she walked in as if she was going to discover, I don't know what in there.
So great. Completely agree.
Yeah. So I want to put that together with your visits to the post office. Having humor, independence, allowing our dream world, nourishing our dream worlds, knowing that, trusting our vision and knowing that our vision is important, to just do things and not be a perfectionist, not having to know how to do it, but just do it, not caring about affirmations that come from the outside. I think that's everything I've written down. Thank you for this.
That's great. Thank you for this. It makes me feel good to think of the list of all these wonderful things. So I shall continue my day in New York in the snow.
In the beautiful snow. I will put a link to your website in my episode notes so my listeners who are curious can go and see your beautiful work.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And I want to thank you again for being here with me today, saying yes. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for the work you do. It's really inspiring and it warms our hearts and our existence.
Wonderful to hear. And send me a photo if you feel like it of your mother or your family in the island in the summer.
I will do.
Whatever you feel like, if you like to.
I will do. If you enjoy Thank You Mama and want to help it grow, please take the 2 seconds to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps. If you'd like to get in touch, you can send me a mail at info@thankyoumama.net. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter under Anna Teider, that's Tajder. This was Thank You Mama. Come back next week, subscribe, and tell your friends.